तेनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति
Chapter 2, verses 46 to 55. यावानस्तभुजपाने सर्वतः संसुतोदके तावान्तरेषु वेदेषु ब्राह्मणस्य विजानतः कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते आपरेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भूः मा ते सङ्गोऽस्त्वकर्मणि योगस्थकुरुकर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा धनञ्जय सिद्ध्यसिद्ध्यो समो भूत्वा समत्वं योग उच्यते दूरेण ह्यवरं कर्म बुद्धियोगा धनञ्जय बुद्धौ शरणमन्विच्छ कृपणाफलहेतवः बुद्धियुक्तो जहातीह उभे सुकृतदुष्कृते तस्मात् योगाय युज्यस्व योगः कर्मसु कौशलम् कर्मजं बुद्धियुक्ता हि फलं त्यक्त्वा मनीषिणः जन्मबन्धविनिर्मुक्ताः पदं गच्छन्त्यनामयम् यदा ते मोहकलिलं बुद्धिर्व्यतितरिष्यति तदा गन्तासि वेदम् श्रोतव्यस्य श्रुतस्य च श्रुतिभिः प्रतिपन्नाते यदा स्यास्यति निश्चला समाधावचला बुद्धिः तदा योगमवाप्स्यसि। अर्जुन उवाच स्थितप्रज्ञस्य का भाषा समाधिस्तस्य केशव स्थितधीः किं प्रभाषेत किमासीत व्रजेत किम्। श्रीभगवानुवाच प्रजहाति यदा कामान् सर्वान् पार्थमनोगतान् आत्मन्येवात्मना तुष्टः स्थितप्रज्ञस्तदोच्यते।
How does one decide one's obligatory duties? Are they dependent on a goal? Obligatory duties are in relation to the goal. Only in relation to the goal you can decide what ought to be done, what ought not to be done. So, you are right. Obligatory actions is always in relation to your goal. Because minus the goal you will never know what to do, what not to do. Or on what basis you decide. What is the basis upon which you can decide what is obligatory, what is non-obligatory. Therefore, it is always the goal that decides what is obligatory and what is non-obligatory. A human being have to have a very highly evolved state to work with a single goal. Most of the times, it is very, very difficult to have a very singular purpose. Or even if they say singular purpose, it's very vague also. Like I want to become a better person. Now, what is becoming? What is betterment? Who decides what is betterment? So, even though it looks like a singular goal, it's not a singular goal. For it's very vague. You cannot precisely fix anything. You cannot precisely define it. Therefore, what happens? Even though a human being looks like working for a goal, for all practical purposes, there is no goal at all. As a result of which, there is always a confusion on what to do, what not to do. There is always a confusion. Should I do this or should I not do it? Why should I do it? So what if I don't? So what if I don't? So what if I don't do it? All these questions, all these doubts come in relation to where a human being is not working with a singular goal. Now, is it possible for a human being to work with a single goal, a single purpose? It is possible. It is possible. It's not that it is not possible. In fact, all that we are attempting in these classes is what? One day to get to that point where we all will be working for a singular goal, a purpose. Right now it is difficult. When I say right now it is difficult, you can't have a single purpose. So first thing in terms of deciding obligation is to get a firm clarity on what goal is. To get a clarity on what goal is, and lot of manana, lot of reflection to reinforce that goal. Most importantly, more important than all this is wherever the temptation comes to say no to the temptation and do that which I have or which I am supposed to do. That's how it works. Theoretically conceiving the goal is not that much difficult. Linguistically fixing a goal is also not difficult. Where the actual challenge comes, when you are into the doing, when you get into the actual doing, distractions come. To understand them as distraction is the real challenge. For the teacher keeps on saying it is distraction, it is distraction, it is distraction. You will go on saying, why are you calling it as a distraction? It is not a distraction. So the whole challenge is what? The whole challenge boils down to how do you understand it as a distraction in the first place. That's why the concept of Nitya karma and Naimittika karma, the obligatory duties into two, they have divided into two, regular duties and special duties. So this will give a clarity on knowing the distractions that is taking you away from the goal. Very difficult is to know the distractions. Why it is so difficult to know the distraction? The vega the force of likes and dislikes. The vega, the power, the force of likes and dislikes is so strong that you won't even know that it is a distraction. On top of it, not even knowing that it is a distraction, will pursue the distraction, assuming that it is in line with the goal only. That's where every human being becomes self-deluded. Not only I will not know that it is a distraction, I will even convince myself. I will even believe that it is also in line with the goal only. There, very difficult is to decide what is obligatory action. You follow? So, the whole challenge in terms of obligatory action is in knowing an awareness of the distractions. Awareness of the distraction is directly dependent upon how much you are convinced about the goal. It's all about how convinced you are about the goal. More the conviction, lesser is the confusion about distraction. Not the distraction. Distraction will come, but at least you will not be that much. At least you will not be that much confused. So you will know what to. So you will know what to do. You will know what to do or what not to do. So as far as obligatory action is concerned, it is in relation to it is always in relation to a goal. A goal has to be precise. You can't have vague goals. That's why most of the goals are very vague. All I want is to be a happy person, sir. All I want is happiness. Okay, if happiness is what you want, drugs is the best way to get happiness. No, not through drugs. That's how you get a clarity. But then straight away saying, yes, all that I want is to be a better person. What is it that I understand as betterment? Number one. Number two, who is the standard for betterment? Number three, what have I understood that wrong in me as of now that I want to become better? See, no one understands that there is something wrong. As I am today, there is something wrong in me. Then only the drive for becoming better comes. As I am today, I think I am more or less all right. In attitude wise and all, I don't have a problem. In attitude wise, I don't have any problem at all, for I am very sacrificial anyway. I am very service minded anyway. All that I do not know is the technique of sacrifice. I do not know. So betterment I don't need, sir. Better is what I am already. So whenever you talk about betterment, who's the standard for betterment? On what basis I am saying that is betterment? I want to be a good person. What have I understood as wrong in me now that I want to become better? Whatsoever I understood as wrong in me, how much disgusted I am with that. I can't say this is wrong in me and have friendship with that. If I say this is wrong in me, I have to be disgusted with that. You follow what I am saying? Now all these analysis, all this clarity will bring a conviction on the go. Then you know precisely what you are. Then you know precisely what you are working for. That precision will give you a clarity on what to do, what not to do. You follow? Lastly, the confusion is because of this. There is no one permanent list for what to do, what not to do. There is no one permanent list like that. It keeps changing. In your own life it keeps changing. From person to person also it keeps changing. Therefore, how do you decide? If you say, okay, these are all the things that ought to be done. To help us get rid of this confusion, in fourth chapter, he is going to talk about it. In fourth chapter, he talks about three things. He says, karma, vikarma, and akarma. In chapter 4, he says, gahana karmano gatihi. Nature of action is impenetrable. Nature of action is very deep, Arjuna. For there are three things in action: karma, akarma, and vikarma. Karma means obligatory actions, nitya and naimittika. Akarma means the non-doing principle, the enlivening factor. Vikarma is prohibited, forbidden actions. So, you take the list of forbidden actions, it's very clear. You should not steal, you should not lie, you should not commit adultery, you should not. There is a list of forbidden. There is a list of forbidden actions. Where does doubt come from on what to do, what not to do? It's all given out. He's saying it's all given out already very clearly. Where is the doubt coming from? No clarity on the goal. No clarity on the goal. Therefore, the confusion will continue up to a point till you get a clarity. Because what is obligatory duty under one situation will not be the same under another situation. So action wise it keeps changing. In and through the changing actions, the focus on the goal is not lost. When action changes, you should not lose your focus on the goal. If I have to think of God and Brahmana, only if I wear dhoti and kurta I will remember. The moment I switch into shorts and t-shirt, I start thinking about something else. You follow what I am saying? What is in and through the changing actions, the sight of goal is not lost. There you are doing obligatory actions, because the actions keep changing, and in and through the changing actions, the purpose, the goal is not forgotten, is not lost. Then you know down the line whatsoever you do becomes obligate. The Dharma Shastras give a list. What is Nitya Karma? What is Naimittika Karma? To a Kshatriya, obligatory duty is to kill. If he is not killing, he is not performing his obligatory duty. If Krishna is talking to Uddhava, If Krishna is talking to someone else, he will not say, go on, kill. Because it is, the action will differ to, if he is talking to a Vaishya, a business person, he will say, obligatory duty is what? Make money. Your obligatory duty is to make money. If he is talking to a Brahmana, he will say, your obligatory duty is to do tapas and get back to Brahman. Now, if you look at Krishna talking to three different things and calling all three as obligatory, you will feel like asking him, what? Make up your mind. First you go, do your reflection and come back. Make up your mind and tell us clearly what is obligatory. For how can it differ? How can it change? Gahana karmano gati. The nature of action is so deep, impenetrable, he says. Impenetrable means as long as you are ignorant, you cannot penetrate. You need a very strong clarity to penetrate and understand. Follow what I am saying? Therefore, the confusion is obligatory means it has to be fixed, a routine. No. Some are fixed to routine, some are not fixed. So he calls it as nitya karma and aimittika karma. So in and through the changing actions, you know that you have not lost sight of the goal. Elsewhere, he says, the ability to adopt action to obligation. What is clarity? Beautiful definition he gives. In the book Vedanta Treatise, he gives the ability to adopt action to obligation. What is the opposite? If obligation is not done, what is driving the action? Likes and dislikes. That is very clear. If obligation is not driving the action, then what is driving the action? Likes and dislikes. Confusion is where it is likes and dislikes, where it is obligatory. Yeah, that's the actual confusion. The actual confusion is I am doing action. Sometimes it looks like obligation, sometimes it looks like likes and dislikes. How do you distinguish? Obligatory action is the confluence of mind and intellect. So there will be obligatory action is an action that comes out of the confluence of the mind and intellect. In the initial stages, there is always a conflict between mind and intellect. My reason and logic says this is what I ought to do. Mind says I don't like it. No, but this is I understand it is the right thing to do, but I don't like it. I don't like it. Talk to the child. The child talks this language. Sometimes the mind likes it. I like it. Intellect says no. The intellect says yes, the mind says no. The mind says yes, the intellect says no. So there is a conflict, constant conflict. What is obligatory action? How do you get that? How do you get both to work on the same path? That's the confluence. That's where the clarity on the goal comes. That's where the clarity comes. So that's how the doubt is resolved. The confluence of the mind and intellect. The confluence of the mind and intellect. The confluence of mind and intellect is directly dependent upon the clarity on the goal. The confluence is dependent upon how clear you are about the goal. When we say clear, not not that theoretically clear. Like for example, even now, if I ask a question, what is the purpose of life? I myself will answer. Self-realization is, the question is correct, answer is also correct, 100 marks. Yeah, certificate is also given. But nothing changes. So how does that confluence arises? When there is the conflict, when I know that these are the areas of my likes and dislikes, whatsoever you understand as your area of likes and dislikes, the courage, the effort you put to leave that behind and do which you think it ought to be done at that point of time. May be right, it may be wrong. It doesn't really matter whether it is right or wrong. Whether you are doing the right thing or not is not the point. It is not at all the concern. The biggest problem in spiritual growth is not about what is the right thing to do, or the only right thing to do is what? Saying no to likes and dislikes, that's all. That saying no is painful. That saying no is excruciating. That saying no is painful. That saying no is excruciating. That saying no brings a lot of doubts. Is it possible that I am becoming selfish? You are working for your evolution. How can you become? All the effort that you are doing is to overcome your selfishness. The effort that you put to overcome your selfishness, how can that be selfish? You follow what I mean? But then doubts come. Maybe it will not be excruciating. Maybe it will not be traumatic. But then the doubt comes. Oh, maybe I am becoming very selfish, not caring about others. Because you are doing that which you ought to do. Doubts comes. Which is what I mean by the doubt of the intellect. The mind says, I don't. Maybe temporarily I will cooperate. Mind says, temporarily I will cooperate for another like. Carefully follow. The mind will always say, I will cooperate as long as you are choosing between likes, you make a choice, I will cooperate. But don't come to me with the choice of getting rid of likes and dislikes. Don't come to me with that choice. Because it's like almost telling the mind, commit suicide. Why it will want to die like that? It will want to fight for its survival. It is fighting for its survival. So, the choice is always between the likes, there is a cooperation. But to say no to the likes and dislikes and do something different from that, doubts will come. Either the mind says, I don't, stubborn, it will not cooperate, it creates so much of agitation. Or the intellect will come up with doubts. Maybe, how will I know that I am doing the right thing? The answer is, you can never know. You can only do. You can never know. Or, if you are working for, if you have kept the goal of evolution and working, then it becomes right. What is the right thing to do for my children, sir? What is the right thing to do for the children? Give away your property? Put them put them in a good school and college. All that I have done, sir, I only want them to get married from a good. All that I want is to get them married from a good family. Marriage is also done, sir. All that I want is they should have good children. Children is also there. All that I want is everything will start again afresh. Everything will start again afresh. Where it started 30 years back, it will start afresh again. You follow what I am saying? If anything is not done, doubt will come. Maybe I am becoming very selfish. The law of life says all along you have been selfish. Now only you are considering whether should I become unselfish or not. How can that become selfish? That's where the doubt comes. It's very difficult to, because it's very that conflict. Either the mind is stubborn in saying no, or the confusion. What is the confusion? Is it am I doing the right thing? If you can't decide, borrow someone else's intellect. Tasmat Shastram Pramanante. Wherever you have a doubt, take Shastras as the authority, Arjuna. He has given the solution already. Tasmat Shastram Pramanante. For what? Karya Akarya. Tasmat Shastram Pramanante. For what? Tasmat Shastram Pramanante. Karya Karya. Karya and Akarya. What to do, what not to do. Whenever you get to this doubt, keep Shastras as the authority. Corollary I will add. Don't keep Shastras as the authority because you will never know what Shastra is in the first place. You are really, this is my, book. Now I am saying that which, this is purely my opinion. You can take it, you can leave it. That is your choice. If you are really wise, you will keep a living master as an authority. If you are really wise, you will always keep a living master as an authority. Why? Whatsoever you do, he is the only one who is going to say it's wrong. The photographer is not going to say where you are going wrong. That's why if you carefully analyze, if you carefully look at human history till now, masters become popular after they die. I don't know whether you have observed it. Throughout human history, right up till now it is happening. Why? Why it is so? Why it is so? They object. Correct. Their intellect says all that you are doing is wrong. You will get very upset. You will get very irritated. You will get very frustrated. You feel like saying, after a while, you will get, anything you do, he is only going to say wrong only. Continue to do what you are doing. We start ignoring. You follow what I am saying? Wherever there is a doubt, you need to borrow someone else's. If you are wise, you will borrow a living master. Why the living master? Because Shastra itself you are going to understand only through him. How can you directly open a book and understand the Shastra? Number one, is the Shastra itself you are getting to know only through him. Explain the Shastra, but I will do what? I will decide. He will say you decide. He will say, I still remember, every time he keeps saying. With the chicken intellect, people come and tell me, this is what I have decided. People come and tell Swamiji, he says, people come and tell me with the chicken intellect they have decided. This is what? I also agree and say, please. And he gives 5 more supporting arguments to convince you that what you have decided is the right thing to do. You follow? Tasmat shastram brahmanante karya karya. Karya and akarya. What ought to be done, what ought not to be done. Let Shastras be the authority. From the disciple's standpoint, it is always better to take the authority, the guidance of the master. You follow? That's how you can reconcile. Till you come to a point where you can know for yourself, you need to take guidance. It's always better to take guidance from a living authority. That person necessarily need not be an authority also, but nevertheless take guidance, because the ego has started to bend. Ego has started to bend. That's all. Even here, how ignorance functions, carefully follow. Even here, most of the time, you will go to people who will say yes to you. You will go and ask advice. You will go to people who will say yes to you. See, the child knows between the father and mother who is going to say yes, and the child will go. In my case, I am the yes sayer. I keep saying yes. For anything, she will come to me because I am going to say yes. The mother, no, poor thing, she doesn't know that I have only told the mother to keep saying no. Anything she says, your job is to say no, my job is to say yes. Then I will become the good person, you will become the bad person. Because the yes sayers are always good. So even when the mind is the child, it works exactly like that. Between the two, the child will always go where it will get a yes. If father and mother is going to say no, it will go to the grandparent. If grandparent is also going to say no, that's why most of the children come back and tell you, what? I have discussed it with my friends. Have you ever noticed it? They will always come and say, I have discussed it with just as you discussed with your friends. Correct? Why? It's so interesting, psychology. Why them? Because they are the one who are going to say yes. You follow? Therefore, that much minimum clarity is required. What? If you know someone is if someone is going to say no, go to that person for advice. At least you will be saved to some extent. And don't come to me for advice, because I will say anything you ask, I will say yes. Are you useless? You follow? Is it okay, ma? Did I answer you in any way? Yes. 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 What she is saying is, there are intermediate goals also. No, self-realization is the goal. There are intermediate goals also. No, goal is only one. There are many steps to get to that goal. Never say there are many goals. Goal is one. Steps are many. Then only you will get a clarity. If you say goals are many, how can there be many goals? Goal is only one. There are many steps. Those steps is what you mean as intermediate goals. When you use the word intermediate goals, what you are actually meaning is the steps. So first thing is, from your vocabulary, from your dictionary, remove that. Intermediate goals. Goal is only one, steps are many. Steps are many. Kenopanishad says, if you want to spiritually evolve, first thing is to get rid of your viciousness. If you want to get, Kenopanishad says, if you want to evolve, first thing is get rid of your viciousness. Now what is viciousness? All these are pointers to think. To whatever extent you have thought and understood, to that extent you get a clarity on the steps that is going to take you to the goal. Steps are not the goal. That's why the discussion of idol and ideal. Idol represents the ideal. Ideal is only one. There are steps. Now steps can be 100, steps can be 1,000. It doesn't matter. But nevertheless, these are all steps. First thing you need to get a clarity is, goal is only one, steps are many. Second thing is, as far as the steps are concerned, more or less at your level you will know what I should be doing, what I should not be doing. At your level you will know. Step is to pursue that. Step is to follow that. At your level itself you will know. At every level, more or less, you might not be 100% accurate. For there is no such thing as 100% accuracy and all. It's always, understand it like that. Life is a game of probability. For there are no certainties. It's a probability. If I meet this person, this can happen, this cannot happen. Able to follow? So first thing is, life is a game of probabilities. We live life on probabilities. It's a probability that I come here, I go back. It's a probability. Even though when I am leaving, I tell my mother, that's the only conversation between me and my mother. When I am leaving, I have to go and tell her what. That's all. Other than that, we don't have. In fact, I can't remember having any conversation with her at all. She will also say, Jagrati, careful. That's all the whole conversation is. 47 years I have gone back doesn't mean I will go back today. It's a probability. Are you able to follow? This is what is known as the strength. This understanding brings strength. You park the car, it's a probability that it will be there. It's a probability that it will be there. I will not say. Because class is very important. Car Brahman is a victim. Brahma Vidya important, car important. Badri, unga car mattum same. And I have to go back in his car. Any other car I will not. It's a probability. You leave the car on the road and go back, it will not be scratched. It's a probability. You follow what I am saying? Now, whole life we live through. It's a probability. There are no certainties at all. So at any point of time, you can only know more or less whether it is more or less. You understand that? And it is the probability that makes life wonderful also. It is probability that makes life beautiful also. See, because of the probability that we have, or I have assumed that I am going to live at least for another 30-40 years, or maybe into infinity, I make plans, I make decisions. Supposing upon birth only, I come with the stamp on my forehead. What? Date of expiry. Now, how it will be? Can you imagine that? See, you go to the store and you buy a product. First thing you look at it is what? Expiry. When the child comes out of the womb, the first thing is what? There is an expiry. Now there is no problem down the line after that. You follow what I am saying? Therefore, at any point of time, you can never be. It's a probability. That's all. We live life on probabilities, not on certainties. Therefore, at your level, whatsoever you think ought to be done, put your heart and soul and do it. Whatsoever you think you should not do, avoid it. From a higher standpoint, it will always be wrong. So don't take that standpoint. You work from your standpoint. Will it be 100% correct? At your level, it is 100% correct. But is it per se it is 100%? That has no existence. You follow? So at every step you are doing your 100%, you will reach the goal very soon. You will reach the goal very soon, he says. You follow? Yeah. So don't say intermediate goals. Intermediate steps. At that level you will know what to do, what not to do. Stick to that. Durena hevaram karma, he says. Far inferior to yoga of knowledge is action. Far inferior to yoga of knowledge is action means what is he saying? What is superior? What is inferior? What is he saying? Durena hevaram karma. Far inferior to yoga of knowledge is action. It means what is he saying? What is inferior? What is superior? Sure, no? That's what he is saying. Far inferior to yoga of knowledge is action. O Dhananjaya, seek refuge in knowledge. Therefore, seek refuge in knowledge. Wretched are they whose motive is fruit. Wretched means depressed. Vishada. Wretched means Vishada. That's why chapter 1 is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Despondent. Wretched means despondent. A state of despondency. They get into that state of despondency whose motive is fruit. And if you look at life, more or less, people are despondent about something or the other. There is a despondency. Why? Because motive is the fruit. Seek refuge in knowledge. And what is the knowledge? He gives a new twist. Buddhi Yoga. Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, we know. What is Buddhi Yoga? Actions driven by the mind or actions driven by the intellect. If actions are driven by the intellect, that is Buddhi Yoga. If intellect is not driving the action, then what is driving the action? Mind, likes and dislikes. And whenever he talks about intellect, always remember, within brackets, it is implied, subtle intellect. Because it is a subtle intellect that can conceive of something higher, transcendental. It is a subtle intellect that can conceive of something transcendental, higher. Therefore, he says, the combination of action and intellect. You are acting, Arjuna, but there is no knowledge behind the action. There is no knowledge behind the action. So he says, the conjunction of action and buddhi. The buddhi says, act. Don't worry about turn indifferent to the result. The buddhi says. Mind says, act only. Mind says, act only for the fruit. Or start the action only when the fruit is guaranteed, assured. Action is happening anyway. But then, Durena Javaram Karma. They are far inferior. What is far inferior? Action per se has no meaning. What is it that is there that higher purpose that is driving the action? Action per se has no meaning. If you don't understand this, I gave this example couple of weeks back. Look at the same example even today. All Puranic stories starts with Rakshasas doing tapas. Rakshasa doing tapas, and the result of that tapas is what? Self-destruction. They do tapas, and the result is what? Destruction. So, just hard work, just action has no meaning. It has to be backed by the same tapas. Kaushika also did the same tapas. He became a Vishwamitra. Same tapas. Both have done tapas. So, action has no meaning by itself. I am a very hard and sincere worker, sir. Even Ravana was also hardened. Even Ravana was a hard, sincere worker. Even Hiranyakashipu was a hard and sincere worker. What is the result? Look at the result. That's what he is saying here. That's what he means by Buddhi Yoga. You follow? Because you asked last week, what is this? What is this Buddhi Yoga? Suddenly from where Buddhi Yoga comes in? Action, if it is not backed by the intellect. Intellect means subtle, transcendental, acting for a higher cause, acting for a higher purpose. Therefore, seek refuge in knowledge means attempt to unite action with a higher purpose. All along Arjuna was acting without a higher purpose. Now he wants to get away from action, because that's why he says, all along you have been acting, Arjuna, but there was no buddhi backing it. Even without buddhi backing, he became a Dhananjaya, no? Even without the buddhi backing, he became a Dhananjaya. Even without buddhi backing, he became, another name for Arjuna is Savyasachin. Savyasachin means who can shoot arrow with both right hand and left hand with the same dexterity. It means he has reached. Like imagine a man can bat with left hand and bat with right hand also. Now how to bowl to that man? First ball he takes the right hand guard. Next ball he takes the left hand guard. No. For every ball umpires have to keep shifting this side and that's it. See, that is the dexterity of Arjuna. All these glorified adjectives of Arjuna, you should understand. What you should understand? Has led him nowhere. Still having the same Vishada, still having the same doubt. For all along there is no intellect backing the action. There is no intellect backing the action. Now he says, Arjuna, act. But add that one extra thing which you have been missing all along. All along you have been missing the buddhi component into action, the intellect component into action. Bring that. You are in this despondent state because fruit is the motive. Kripana palahetavaha. Wretched are those whose motive is fruit. Seriya? Verse number 50.
Buddhi yukto jahatiha ubhe sukrita dushkrite tasmat yogaya yujyasva yoga karma sukaushalam. Buddhi yukto jahatiha ubhe sukrita dushkrite tasmat yogaya yujyasva yoga karma sukaushalam.
United to knowledge, one sheds here both good and bad deeds. Therefore, devote yourself to yoga. Skill in action is yoga. Skill in action is yoga. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So whatever actions I can take in my capacity, so these actions I should be thinking of to take me to the highest, is only to reach the highest.
No, not analyzing each and every action, not trying to equate each and every action that you do during the day to, not that way. What is subtle intellect? What is subtle intellect directing action? The lowest category is not acting at all. Parasite. The lowest category is parasite. What is the parasite? Living on others. That is the lowest category, parasite. Living on others. Living on others. Better than being a parasite is to work for your own. At least I will earn my food. At least that much I will do. Better than that. Better than that is why only earn my food. Why not bring in? Why not accommodate others? Why not accommodate others? Still higher than that is who am I to accommodate others? I need to do what I am supposed to. That's how it grows. You follow what? Now, this attitude must back. That's all. It's not about each and every action you sit and analyze and connect it like that. It's not like that. Like the background, it is there. This is from the level of the circle of identification. What subtle intellect is. From another angle, you know it already. That's why I am just giving examples that which you know. From another angle, what is the function of subtle intellect? Action is of three types: selfish, unselfish, selfless. If you are selfish, move to unselfish. If you are unselfish, move to selfless. That's the movement. That's what is meant by. That's what is meant by subtle intellect. Subtle intellect directing the action. That's what in verse number 50 also he is saying, united to knowledge. Buddhi yuktaha, united to knowledge. What is the union? The higher. If I am selfish, I become unselfish. If I am unselfish, I turn selfless. If I am selfless, sir, that's it. Just continue to be in that avladha. Adukku mele there is nothing high. This is what is known as united to knowledge. A general awareness, not a specific awareness in relation to each and every action. A general alertness, a general awareness that comes by, that's the twin practices of manana and tapas. That's the twin practices of reflection and tapas. Over a period of time, it becomes almost like there in the background. Like, take a simple, like it's like this. When you are driving for the first time, you sit holding the steering wheel. You hold the steering wheel so tight that you are lifting the whole car is, you are lifting the whole car. 100 feet road also looks very, 100 feet road looks very narrow. Every vehicle that is coming, this side, that side in the front, looks like it's coming only to hit you, as though the entire traffic is focused on hitting you only. It looks, by then, you continue. A time comes where you don't even, a time comes where you'll be talking, when someone crosses, the legs goes to the brake. You follow? That's what is meant by, that's what the twin combination of manana and tapas. This is the twin combination. It will lead to that point. So it's not about individual awareness. It doesn't work like that. Same thing he is saying here. United to knowledge. United to knowledge means knowledge is indicative of the higher. Knowledge always points to the higher. The effort that you do to act for the sake of the higher. The effort that you do to work for the sake of the higher. United to knowledge. One sheds here both good and bad deeds. Good deeds create good vasanas. Bad deeds create bad vasanas. Nevertheless, it is vasanas only. Sir, that man's snake is a poisonous cobra, sir. My snake is... Both are seeing the snake. That's all he's saying. The only fight is what? That man's snake is poisonous cobra, my snake is divine goddess. You follow what I am saying? Good deeds, bad deeds, both have no meaning, because both creates vasanas, impressions. Vasanas are nothing but creating a demand. Vasanas is nothing but creating a demand. I have never asked for it, sir. It just came to me. It will not come like that. I didn't do anything, but it just comes, sir. It doesn't come because vasanas is the demand. The world supplies. Demand and supply. Good deeds, bad deeds. Both create, both takes you away from the truth. Both takes you away from the reality. If doing good can agitate you, if doing bad can agitate you, doing good also is also agitating. So either way, whether it is good, even though from outside it looks like good or bad, nevertheless in reality it is only agitating. When you rise above this good and bad, that is what is known as united with knowledge. That's what is known as united with knowledge. But this is a very high state, no sir. At my level, what I should do? You can't get rid of even theoretically you can't conceive of this idea. You have to make Krishna agree what? No, sir, that is a very high state that I agree. But at my level, definitely I should do good. No, he will say, yes, continue to do good, doesn't matter. Continue to do good. It doesn't really matter. What difference does it make? You follow? United to yoga. United to yoga. So, united to knowledge, devote yourself to yoga. Another definition for yoga. Yoga karmasu kaushalam. Skill in action is yoga. Verse number 48. Equanimity is samatvam yoga uchyate. Equanimity is yoga. Uchyate, they say. Here he is saying, I am saying skill in action is yoga. Combine both. Uchyate, they say, uchyate means, they say equanimity is, skill in action is yoga. See, what is skill in action? In the 18 days battle, in the Mahabharata battle, the 18 days war, after the day is over, Krishna will take the horses to the river, give them a good scrub, feed them, rest them. Fourth day, Arjuna asked him, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Why can't you have someone else to do? He says, the driver's job is to clean the car. No. The driver's job is to clean the car. You have decided that I should be your driver. So what I will do? This is what I have to do. And the way he used to do. Imagine him sitting and cleaning giving massaging the horses, scrubbing the horses. Since he is doing that, with conviction he will say, skill in action is yoga. Whatsoever is done, it's done skillfully. It's done skillfully. Skillfully means skill has two components. One is the technique, another is the attitude. One is the technique, another is the attitude. All action has two things, the technique and the attitude. Skill is a perfect combination of the right attitude and the right skill. In fact, you need not really worry about the skill part that much. If you bring in the right attitude, it's a question of time. Skill comes automatically. You really need not spend time on acquiring the technique part of it. Skill is a combination of two things, the attitude and the technique. All that is needed is what? Is yes, skill in action is yoga. What is skill in action means? The skill in action means the attitude plus the technique. 48 he said, equanimity is yoga. So, if you have to get an understanding of what yoga is, combine the two. What is the combination? What is the combination? Skillful, equanimous action is yoga. Skillful but equanimous. Combine the two. That's why he says no. Either the world is acting or peaceful. Where there is peace, there is no action. Where there is action, there is no peace. Krishna is saying both. They are both to be together. Both together. What is that? That elusive combination of dynamism, skillful while acting, peaceful at the same time. Generally, peaceful means then only there is peace. Not having done everything, I am very peaceful. So, peace, when the action starts, there is no peace. When peace comes, action stops. So, both doesn't seem to coexist. What is yoga? Yoga is a combination of these two. When you combine these two, this is called yoga. Amatvam yoga uchyate yoga karmasu kaushalam. Karmasu kaushalam samatvam. That's how we have to connect. Karmasu kaushalam samatvam. Skill in action, equanimity is yoga. Therefore, devote yourself to yoga. The direction to the humanity is given. The direction to the entire humanity is given. What is the direction? Work for yoga. Don't work for anything else. Work for yoga. Yoga means uniting with the self. Infested with desires, carried away by desires, the human beings seek the world only to find fulfillment of the desires. In the process of satisfying, they lose the immediate peace. In the process of trying to fulfill the desire, they lose the immediate peace. The peace in the present is also lost. Simultaneously, what is happening? They are acquiring more and more vasanas. By acquiring more and more vasanas, you are making sure that by acquiring more and more vasanas, you are making sure that your future is also going to be miserable. இப்போ இருக்கிற மிசரி பத்தாதுன்னு you make sure that in future also you will be miserable. That desire motivated action takes one away from the path of yoga. The desire motivated action. Action is seen as a tool for fulfillment of desire. If desires can be fulfilled without doing anything, that's the ideal state. No one will act. People are acting because desires can be fulfilled only through action. Here he says, act for the sake of yoga. Kathopanishad starts like this. 2 paths. At every point of time in life, there are these 2 paths in front of you, Nachiketas. There are these 2 paths. The path of yoga and the path of sense gratification, mundane desires. Desire fulfilling or the higher. Yama tells Nachiketas that any point of time you are faced with these 2 paths. Which road you are going to, which path you are going to take? This path leads to Shreyas, this path leads to destruction. This path leads to destruction, this path leads to Shreyas. Shreyas means your own betterment. Your own betterment. Therefore, be aware that you are making the choice to follow a path, and whatsoever choice you make, you will be bound by the consequences of it. Having made the choice, you can't escape the consequences. That's the law of karma. Having made the choice, you are bound by the consequences. The path of the pleasant and the path of the good, he says. In the Kathopanishad, he says, every human being is faced with these 2 paths. The path of the pleasant and the path of the good. What is the difference? Path of the good takes you to liberation. Path of the pleasant takes you to destruction. At any point of time you have to make this choice. Be aware of making this choice. This is what is known as united to knowledge. What does knowledge means? That you have to make there are these 2 paths in front of you constantly in front of you, and you have to keep making this choice. You need to know what choice are you making. That's why he says a human being alone has to make the choice of action. Only a human being has to make this choice. He is giving a technique. What is the technique? Sheds here both good and bad deeds. Drop good and bad. See, what is good and bad? It's purely relative. That's all. It's purely relative. There is no per se good. There is no per se bad. It's purely relative. That's all. Good desires, you acquire good vasanas. Bad desires, you acquire bad vasanas. Good desires, good vasanas, you go to heaven, enjoy the period of good life, come back. Bad vasanas, you go to hell, enjoy the period of misery and agitation, suffering, come back. Either way, You are only making sure that you are going to come back. The path of the pleasant makes you to come back again and again and again. The path of the good is a one way. There is no yadgatva nanivartante tadhama paramam mama. It is a one way path. You go there, there is no return after that. Between the two make your choice. The path of the pleasant and the path of the good. Path of the good is no return. Path of the pleasant is constant return. That constant return is what elsewhere in Bhajagovindam Shankaracharya says, Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam. Again birth, again death. Again birth, again death. Means you keep coming back again and again and again. But actions இவ்வளோ காம்ப்ளிகேட்டட் இருக்கா? அதுக்கு தான் எதுவும் பண்ணாமல் சிவனேன்னு உட்காந்துருக்கணும் இல்லையா? That's why you should not do anything and stay quiet. He says, no. Skill in action is yoga. Now you want to do or you don't want me to do. If you say so much about action, that good vasana, no good, bad vasana, bad, path of the pleasant, path of the good, you will come back. Why do அப்பாடா? இதுதான் சார் எதுவும் பண்ணாமல் சிவனேன்னு இருக்கணுமா? No. Skill in action is yoga. He blows hot and cold so much that either you have to turn numb and ignore him or go mad. Or you go mad. Right understanding, I don't know how it will, because he keeps blowing hot and cold. Far inferior to knowledge is action. Previous verse. Now he is saying yoga means karmasu kaushalam. Yeah. First of all, we should know the contradiction at least. Previous verse only he said far inferior is action. Abada. Arjuna thought Krishna is somehow going to agree with him now. So that he was getting ready to leave the battlefield. Yoga karmasu kaushalam. Skill in action is yoga. Means Arjuna, kill them skillfully. Kill them artistically. Kill them skillfully. Don't kill them. No, actually that's what he is saying. Skill in action is yoga. United to knowledge, one sheds here both good and bad deeds. Devote yourself to yoga. For skill in action is yoga.